judge me later because my later is going to be greater. That's such a powerful statement that you started with in that song. And I like where it says believe in yourself. And I mean the reason why we should be believing in ourselves is because if we don't believe in ourselves, no one else will believe in us. So it starts with us and then everyone else follows what we are projecting. So today we are continuing with our normal sessions, the life coaching, the first part. The second part we talk about technology. Forgive me, there is some background noise. There's some construction going on close to where I am, so you might hear a few background noises. But I hope it doesn't distract us today. So the book that I'm going to be taking a lesson from is a book called The Power of Focus by Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, and Les Hewitt. I found this book very interesting, and as you can see, it's quite a thick book, right? Um, and it took me some time to go through it, essentially because there are some elements of the book where you need to be doing some things. So making sure that you're taking some action steps to be where you want to be. So it says here how to hit your business, personal and financial targets with confidence and certainty. And that's why I started by saying, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will do. So another disclaimer is please do not ask me to lend you this book because I will not do so, right? And the reasons why I will not do so is because I know that some people, not everyone, but some people want to return books. And if they do return those books, they'll be in a terrible state than when you give them those books. The third reason is freebies make us lazy to work for our own thing. So in my world, and this is just me, it can be different for you. In my world, this is a poverty mindset that we need to shift away from. The writers of the books, which is number four, the writers of the books are trying to make a living out of selling their IP. So please do support them, buy their books, because you are also running your own businesses, whether side businesses or main businesses, and you want other people to support your hustle or you want other people to buy your IP. So this thing of I can get a free book must stop unless, of course, the sellers themselves are distributing these books for free. The other reason I won't give you this book is because when I read a book, I make notes in the book, right? And I underline, I make all these crazy comments, and so you can see here already there's a comment in this book. And yeah, if you go through this book, you'll see a lot of other comments or things that I'm thinking about as I read the book. So if I am to give you this book, you might end up not reading the book but reading my comments. So I don't want to do that. Anyways, let's get into it. So what are we talking about? We're talking about habits and how we can break bad habits. And why are we talking about this? Reason number one, your habits will determine your future. And as we talk about this now, I want you to be thinking about some of your own bad habits, right? And don't worry, I'm not going to be asking you to be sharing your bad habits on this platform. Just make a note of them because maybe at the end I'll give you a challenge for you to go through in order for you to overcome some of those bad habits. Number two, your habits will determine your quality of life. Number three, your habits will determine the quality of your networks, those people that you connect to and the people that you interact with. Some people are attracted to you because of how you act and how you behave around other people or when you are on your own, whether on social media or elsewhere. Number four, habits would determine the quality of your relationships. So networks was the first one, and then now relationships. It's whether you maintain these relationships or these relationships will not last. That's business, social, or otherwise. So let's start with a quote. Horace Mann says, "A habit is a cable. We weave a thread each day, and at last we cannot break it." So a habit is something that you do every day until it becomes a part of your life and until you probably cannot break that habit. But hopefully we will be able to break some of these habits in the coming weeks or from today going forward. And I found a verse, Daniel chapter 6, verse 10. It says, when Daniel learned that the document had been signed, he went to his house. Now his upper room had an open window that faced Jerusalem. And Daniel knelt, prayed, and praised his God 3 times a day, just like he always did. So Daniel was in a habit of praying every day and praying 3 times a day facing Jerusalem. And this habit of his was a continuous thing. He did it every day without fail. So what is a habit? A habit is something that you do often and it becomes natural to you, it becomes easy for you. And if you repeat this habit, it becomes your character. And once it becomes your character, it may be difficult for you to change this character unless it is a good character. So if you keep doing this thing and you do it every day, it gets to a system where to a process or a time where this thing is now sort of automated in your system or in your brain. So you do something without even thinking. So because it's part of you, so you just do it without blinking, without even noticing that you're doing it. Let's give an example here. I do not drive manual cars. I drive automatic cars, and I know Dr. Nyarai also loves driving automatic cars. So if I were to give someone, okay, let's take it a step back. And when you were learning to drive a manual car, it took you a lot of effort to do so. You know, you needed to make sure that your balancing is right. You need to coordinate your gear shifting with your feet, your hands, and you also need to coordinate everything with your eyes as well because you need to be checking blind spots and all of those things. But as you got used to it, it just happened naturally. You didn't have to put any effort into it. You just get into your car and you drive like you were born doing it. But if I were to give you an automatic car, it changes, right? Because the first thing that you start to look for in that automatic car is you want to press the clutch, but it's not there. And if you are used to inserting a key into your ignition, if I give you a keyless car, the first thing that you are doing is you want to find somewhere where you can put your key in. So that's because the habit is already formed. Right? And maybe after a few days of driving this automatic car or this keyless car, then you get used to it and it also becomes natural for you to do so. Now, let's consider now a few examples of what I think are a few bad habits that maybe we can try and work on, right? And some of these I got from this book that we're sharing, The Power of Focus. So buying luxuries or nice things or non-essential things on credit, even food. Sometimes people buy food on credit. It's a bad habit. Eating junk foods from Monday to Friday. That's a common one, right? It's like, I do have the money, so I mean, you cannot judge me. Why do you judge me? I eat what I want, and we do these things every day. Not exercising regularly. Not reading your Bible regularly. Not praying regularly. And when we began, we spoke about Daniel, and his habit was praying 3 times a day, every single day. Number 6, not returning phone calls on time. Number 7, not responding to WhatsApp messages on time. And I remember very well, I used to have one manager who would never respond to her WhatsApp messages. You send her a WhatsApp message and it will take her an entire week or 2 weeks for her to respond to that WhatsApp message. So we end up knowing that that's what she is. And if you need something from her, you would have to call her or you'd have to actually walk to your desk to ask her for that specific thing. Otherwise, you're not going to get a response. Number 8, poor communication at work or at home. So I hope as you're listening now, you're making notes of your own personal bad habits, because remember, we might have a challenge at the end of this for you so that you can start working on breaking your own bad habits. Number 9, wasting time on the internet, reading things that are unnecessary, looking for jokes, looking for, just things that are not going to benefit you, things that are not going to result in your personal growth. Number 10, wasting time watching TV. And I've heard people talk on this platform discouraging people to watch your Uzalos, your Generations, those kind of things because they're wasting your time, the time that you could otherwise be using for personal development. The only thing that is making sense is for those people that are doing those shows and the people that are airing adverts for you to be watching this. And I had the debate with some people and I said, I don't see the reason why I should be paying for DSTV because I'm paying for repeats and I'm paying for adverts. I want to be paying for something that I want to watch when I want to watch it. So I've stopped paying DSTV and I don't have that problem anymore. Number 11, taking more time, not taking time to listen. So you speak more than you listen. You speak more than you listen. Number 12, hitting the snooze on your alarm several times before you actually finally get out of your bed. Most of us do this, right? And we think it's all right. It's a bad habit. Number 13, making last minute travel arrangements. Number 14, procrastinating. And this has been spoken about a lot of times on this platform already. So I hope some of us listening now have already started working on this and are making progress towards not procrastinating. Number 15, spending too much time on your WhatsApp and WhatsApp statuses, forwarding messages that are unnecessary, forward messages that don't really make sense, forwarding news that you have not verified that is also fake news, and stuff like that. I think Dr. Nyarai spoke about this on Wednesday. Number 16, allowing your bills to go unpaid until your debt levels become unmanageable. That's also procrastination because you're saying to yourself, maybe I'll pay this bill at a later stage, I'll pay this bill at a certain time until, your bills are actually out of control. Number 17, forgetting names soon after someone is introduced to you. So a name is mentioned and immediately you forgot about it. So this used to be me as well. And I'm making progress towards remembering names. Look, I remember most of the people here on this platform, Mrs. Nechipani, Elder Favor, and I remember most of your names now. The list is too long, the list of those bad habits that we could go on. But what we're trying to say is try and get some time to yourself to think about these bad habits that are holding you back. And then maybe as we progress, we'll then look at ways through which you can, break through these bad habits. Some people say it takes about 21 days for you to successfully turn a bad habit into a good habit. But if you were doing something for years, 21 days may not be enough for you. You may need a longer period for you to break this bad habit. So don't think that after 21 days, my bad habit is too here and you give up. You may still need to go on working on that bad habit until you break the cycle of the bad habit. So let me give you a personal example here. In the past, when I was taking off my shoes, what I used to do is I would just step on the heel of the shoe with the other foot and just slide my shoe off my feet and do that again with my other foot and just take it off without even taking off the shoelaces. Then I said to myself, I actually need to break this habit. So maybe as we continue with this discussion, I'll tell you how I did it and how I overcame this bad habit and why I thought it was a bad habit. So here's the challenge. I know you were listening and waiting for this challenge. So I want you to block about an hour or so of your time on your calendar where you're actually going to be thinking about the habits that are holding you back. Turn off every noise. Remember when we spoke about strategic thinking, we said you need to be turning off all the noises that are surrounding you so that you can focus on this task that you're going to be doing. So block an hour of your time, maybe 2. If you have a lot of bad habits, you probably need more. But just list your bad habits, and out of this list that you're going to come up with, select 3 to 5 bad habits that you are going to focus on, and you say to yourself, I'm determined to change these bad habits. So your next step is to ask yourself a few questions. So the process involves you asking yourself a few questions that will help you identify these bad habits. Number one, you're saying to yourself, are my financial habits helping me to reach my most important goals? Number two, are my current health habits killing my well-being or destroying my health? Number three, what communication habits do I need to have in order for me to improve my communication skills? Number four, what habits do I have that are killing my relationships or my networks? So these questions are going to trigger you identifying your bad habits. And if you can't think of something, say to someone that you trust, someone that you are open with, what are my bad habits? And they will probably be able to identify this for you. And it's going to be an easy process for you. Now, after you're done with this, now let's go into the process of actually then breaking these bad habits. Number one, select that one habit, right? So give it a name and say, in my case, I would have said, I don't untie my shoelaces. I just step on my shoes. So that was my bad habit. So the second step is to say, what are the consequences of me keeping this bad habit? What is it going to cost me? In other words, so in my example, my shoes were breaking from the heels, right? Which means that I have to replace my shoes more often, and that means that's a negative impact on my cash flow. So these were the reasons why I needed to change this habit, right? So now I have a motivation for me to start working on a new habit. But then before I do that, I need to identify what that new habit is. So in my case, the new habit, which is step number 3, was to now say, I need to untie my shoelaces before I take off my shoes, right? So the next step is then identifying the benefits of me doing that. So in my example of taking off my shoes, then it means that I'm no longer damaging my shoes from the heels. I do not have to replace my shoes more often. And now my cash flow is not impacted negatively anymore if I successfully do this thing. And then the next step is then which is the final step, is to identify your 3-step process or 3-step action plan for you to break this habit. For myself, with this example that I've given you, it was number 1, I need to sit down first before I take off my shoes, right? I then need to remove my shoelaces. I then need to remove my shoes properly and then take them onto a shoe rack. So it took me time to get used to this habit, but the more you do it, the more you get used to this new habit and the better your life becomes. So I hope that someone can use these tips to turn their lives around. And do not forget, the book that I was sharing from is The Power of Focus by Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, and Les Hewitt. Let me just sip a little bit of water before we get into the technology space. Right, now we're getting into the technology space. And, in the past 2 or 3 weeks, we've been talking about blockchain, and we then focused on digital currencies. So this week, as I was thinking about what is it that I need to share with the audience in this coming week, I got a text message from someone on my WhatsApp, and they said, hey, Laz, my aunt has just lost 50,000 rands on this coin auction platform. Do you think she will recover this 50,000 rands? And I said, what is the name of this platform? The person gave me the name of the platform, and accidentally, it was the same platform that someone else had asked me about a few weeks ago. And I had said to this person, stay away from this platform because I don't think it is a good platform. Now, so I thought, looking at this message, maybe let me share with you a few things to look out for before you get onto these digital platforms, so that you can identify whether it's a Ponzi scheme or whether it's a scam or something like that, whether it's not a good thing. So with this platform, I'm not going to give you a name because I don't want to get into trouble. So I'm just going to give you a few things that I noticed on this platform that made me, that raised sort of red flags for me to be able to say to this person, please stay away from this platform. Number one, the website did not look that great. It had a few errors like spellings and grammar and all of that stuff. And for me as a potential investor, that was a turn off. Because if I'm going to put my money in there, then I don't trust you I don't have trust or confidence enough that you will make good use of my money. The website had just been developed. It was just a few days old. So I was very worried about that. Number three, the returns that they were promising sounded unrealistic under the COVID-19 conditions. They were talking about a guaranteed 20% return within a few weeks or months. And I'm thinking, but that does not really make sense, because if I put my money in a savings account, I'm probably only going to be getting about 3.35%. And at that time that I was looking at this, I knew that the JSE returns were on average about 15%. So the 20% guaranteed was sounding a little bit weird. And, that was a red flag for me. And the other thing was that they seemed to promise returns if you manage to get other people on the platform. That also didn't sound right for me. So I went on and I searched for this platform on Google, and I didn't see any reviews from anyone. I didn't see any comment on Hello Peter or anything. It was just a new thing, and no one is really talking about it. So I was really worried about it. So I advised that person not to go into this. So let's just look at a few other things that you need to look out for before you can get onto these digital platforms. Some of them we've already spoken about, but we're just going to recap on them. Number one, high investment returns with no or little risk. So these people will come to you and say, hey, put your money in this platform and you get 20 or 30% within a month. And there's just like no risk on your part. When you're investing your money, there is always an element of risk. And if someone is promising you that you can invest your money and there's no risk, that should be a red flag for you. I mean, the only thing that might make sense for you to say, well, there is little or no risk, is if you're getting into government bonds. But even with that, there is some element of risk in it. Right. Number two, difficulty in receiving payments. So you put in your money, maybe you decided you want to test this platform and you put a little bit of your money into this platform, and then you discover that, well, maybe this is not really a great platform, and you ask for your money back and you have problems getting that payment back. Or you hear that people are getting problems trying to receive their money back from this platform, because a Ponzi scheme generally is a scheme where someone steals from another person so that they can pay another person. So they rely on big numbers so that they can steal from other people and pay a few people, then they take the rest as their own gains. Number three, selective or complex strategies. My rule of thumb is, if I do not understand something, I do not get into it. So, for example, I'm not into Bitcoin yet because I don't understand it. I haven't had the time to actually sit down and learn and gather knowledge about it. And for me, basically, if I don't understand something, I stay away from it. And if someone is going to explain something to you for 5 minutes and you still don't understand what's going on, don't get into it. Right. Number four, unlicensed sellers. So maybe if you have a way to check, please do check to see if the platform that you want to get onto is a licensed or regulated platform. I'll give you an example. It's not related to digital currencies, but it's something that I almost got scammed from. So I got an email at one point that spoke about a tender for beans. And I submitted the quotation, and within a few days, the email came back and said, "Well, you've been selected, so you now need to provide us with these bins." So I went in search for these bins, and I found a company that was selling these bins for very cheap. And I thought, well, this is going to give me very good returns on my investment. So I placed an order with this company, and then they sent me their banking details and invoices and all of that stuff. But I said to myself, well, before I can pay these people, let me verify and see that this company is a genuine company. So I went on to CIPC. I put in the registration number. The business was registered in that name. Then I went on to SARS and I checked the VAT registration number, and I noticed something that was strange. The VAT registration number that they were using was not their VAT registration number. It was for another company with a similar name. That worried me. So I called that company that had this VAT number and I said, I've found a certain company that is using your VAT registration number. Do you also trade under this name, which is the name of those company that wanted to sell the beans to me? And I said, no, we don't use that name. It's not us. So I said, okay, fine. Please do make note that someone else is using your VAT number and your company registration number for trading purposes. Please look into it. It could be a scam. And I took it a step further. I said, let me go to the ATM. Let me take even a 10 rand or 50 rand, a small amount. Let me put it into this bank account that they're saying is the business bank account, because they had given me an FNB letterhead that had the business registration number, the business name, and the business account number. So I went onto an ATM and I put in a small amount in there just to test that the bank details were indeed their banking details. And there I found something else that was very shocking. The account number that I'd been given was not a company bank account number. It was an account number that was linked to an individual. So I didn't transfer the money that I was supposed to transfer. I was supposed to transfer a deposit of 70,000 rands, which I was going to definitely lose if I had gone on to do this. So please be on the lookout, because these people can be a syndicate. So you might think that it's this one company, but it might be connected to another company and another company that are working as a syndicate just to get money from you. Number 5, guaranteed returns. We've already spoken about this. They say to you, you put your money and you get it out after a month and you get 20%. Markets do not work that way. Returns in markets are always up and down. If you go and look on the JSE right now, or even if you look at how much the rand is trading to the dollar, if you had looked at it in the morning and you look at it now, you will see that there is already a difference. So if someone is promising you guaranteed returns, that is a red flag. Walk away. Unless it's a bank and it's a savings account that is saying 3.35% per annum. Right. Number 6, consistently high performance. So you get onto the platform and it's consistently giving you high returns, and it looks like everything is going on well. If you remember, there was one platform called the MMM at some point, and a lot of people seemingly made a lot of money and the returns were very great. But at the end of the day, that whole scheme collapsed and a lot of people lost their money. Number 7, a suspicious or vague business model. And I said earlier on, if you don't understand something, stay away from it. And if someone explains something to you for 5 minutes and it doesn't make sense to you, run with your life. Number 8, we have already spoken about this one, the pressure to find new investors. And what these guys will do is they will promise you returns if you bring in new people. I had one client of mine coming to me to offer me this Bitcoin platforms, and there was this whole thing about sponsorship, and if she brought me in, she was going to get something, and if I also bring in some people, I was going to get something. I stayed away from that, because that for me is a red flag. Right. Number 9, and that's the last point that I'm going to mention on this, is that these people that create this Ponzi scheme work on credibility through association. So you might find that even their family members are also investing into this platform because they want you to believe that this is a real deal. If their family members are investing in, So definitely this must be a great thing. But you must remember that some of these people are not even scared of scamming their own family members. So stay away from those things. But at the end of the day, the most important thing, as I sip a glass of water, the most important thing is what we were introduced to in this platform. Remember kids. Does anyone remember kids? Right? K standing for knowledge, I standing for insights, D standing for depth, and S standing for strategy. So in knowledge, gather as much knowledge as you can about a particular thing or a particular subject or a particular platform before you actually put in your money in there. Do not rely on someone else's knowledge, right? Do your own research. What is it that you're finding about this platform? What is it that have attracted you to this platform? Right? Get as much knowledge as you can about this thing. And your why must be very clear. And remember, we've always said if your why is not clear, ask why again and why again until your why becomes very clear. Insights. Be on the lookout for information. Be on the lookout for alerts. You know, those things that come to your attention. Think about these things. If someone says to you, hey, I don't trust this MMM platform, think about it. What does that actually mean to you? Why are these people saying they don't trust this particular platform? If you are into share trading and someone says to you, Apple is introducing a new device, think about that and think about what does that actually mean to you. What does it actually mean to this stock of Apple that you are buying? What does that actually mean for companies that are linked to Apple, for example? So these are insights, right? D is your depth. Become an expert at this thing that you want to do. Become an expert in this subject matter that you are focusing on. I said in my earlier example that I've not gotten into Bitcoin because it's something that I've not mastered this yet. So if I want to get into it, I will first of all have to make sure that my knowledge is right, and I'll make sure that I also become a guru in it, and I'll make sure that I'll keep the insights coming in. I'm currently trading stocks and I'm using this strategy, and trust me, it works. Which gives us the last point, which is strategy. Your strategy is your how. And remember, if your why is clear, if you're getting insights, if you're an expert in this particular thing, your how becomes very simple. Remember, if you don't understand something, stay away from it. This is the end of my presentation, Dr. Nyarai. I'm handing over to you.
Thank you very much, class monitor. Yes, you need knowledge. You need knowledge for you to get into something. You need to gain in-depth knowledge about it. Thank you so much. Your host today is not that feeling well, but nevertheless, a bit of some rest would do the trick. So thank you so much. That was powerful, and I am just looking at the power of focus that you just gave us. I'm just looking at it and like, wow. And you normally look at the commentaries. I mean, how people, talk about it. Yeah, it's something that we should all be getting, and just to empower ourselves. Just allow me to just play you this jingle. Yes, we are bound by the Spirit of God.